Hey everybody, thank you for joining me and welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Lyle, my channel is Boring Old Guy, and I just do whatever the heck I want to do on this channel. Today, I'm going to bake some soda bread. Now the recipe that I've got is an orange cranberry soda bread. Now soda bread gets its name because it uses baking soda instead of yeast to get its rise. As such, it doesn't need the additional rising time that a yeast will. It basically creates a pretty dense loaf and is widely adaptable to a lot of different recipes. So if you're interested, you know, there are tons of people out there making soda bread, and I am just one. So today I'm going to use my KitchenAid stand mixer. I inherited this from my mom. She wasn't using it anymore. She's almost 90. So, you know, God bless her. Thank you, Mom. And it's just your standard KitchenAid stand mixer. It is old. It's got some years on it, but these things are basically bulletproof. They'll last forever. You know, you can get attachments for these things for grinding meat, for making pasta, for juicing. I mean, there's all kinds of things. But I've just got your standard bowl, a whip, a kneading hook, and the paddle mixer, which I'm going to be using today. All right, so let's get started. All right, I'm going to start by putting together my dry ingredients. And for this, I'm going to use an all-purpose unbleached flour. And I'm going to use 4 cups. All right, and I've got a ½ cup measuring device here because a 1 cup doesn't fit inside my jar here. So, again, this is a forgiving recipe. It's like forgiving recipes are all I use because I'm no chef. All right, so there's 2 cups. Three, starting to get low. 3.5. All right, and 4. Next, I'm going to add 1/3 of a cup of granulated sugar. And that's going to be just about the end of my granulated sugar in this container. All right, a little bit left. A very little. All right. I use fine sea salt. I think you can use pretty much any salt, but I would avoid any iodized salt. And I like to use the fine because it's going to mix together easier, in my opinion. All right, so 1 teaspoon of salt. All right, and 1 teaspoon of your baking soda. All right. That's it for the dry ingredients, and so I'm just going to whisk those together to blend them. All right. That'll do it for a quick blend. Now I'm going to put together my wet ingredients. All right, I'm going to start the wet ingredients by putting in 1 large egg, and then we'll give it a beat. Doesn't have to be well whipped, just beat up. All right. Next, 1.5 cups of milk, and you can use any kind of milk. You know, I've got whole milk here, but if you've got 2%, non-fat, goat milk, almond milk, whatever. I know a lot of people are lactose intolerant and they don't use milk. I am a little bit lactose intolerant myself, but not horribly. All right. And we're going to whip that together a little bit too. All right. Get this back in the fridge. All right, now we're going to zest an orange into this. Now, 1 medium to large orange, right? Now, what you're doing with this is just taking the orange off the top. Right, try not to get too much of that white, that'll make things bitter. Okay, so you can see that it's still basically orange, it's just taking the very top off right there. All right, we'll get the rest of this in there. And now we're going to juice this orange. And add it to the wet mix. This is going to generate roughly 1/4 cup of juice. You know, exact amount isn't all that critical. Charlie's been out playing with the neighbor dog. I opened up the gate so they could play together. Sounds like he's ready to come back inside. All right, so there's that. We'll just add it to the mix. All right. And we'll beat that together a little bit. All right, so this is basically it for the wet mix. Now we're going to start doing some assembly. All right, we're going to start mixing some things together here. There we go. All right, so we're going to put this on low. And we're going to mix in 4 tablespoons of cold butter, which has been cubed. Just a little bit at a time. All right, once all of the butter is in there, you're going to let it continue running until all the butter is incorporated. And you'll know it is because the flour mixture will start to take on a really crumbly appearance. So then, slowly add in the wet mixture. I think I'll lock this down. All right. Here we go. And once that is incorporated, we're going to mix in 1 cup of fresh cranberry. Now, cranberry is not a shelf-stable product. I bought these in the fall as fresh cranberries and then froze them. So I'm going to incorporate 1 cup of the cranberries. And 1/4 cup of raisins. Now, the original recipe called for golden raisins, but I don't have any, so I'm just using regular raisins. All right, and we're going to mix that until it's just incorporated. And it makes a big sticky mess. All right, there we go. Get that off of the paddle. All right. All right, so there you have it. Move this out of the way here a little bit and show you what we got. All right, basically just a wet dough mixture. Now we're going to empty that out onto a well-floured board. All right, so before we continue working with the dough, we may as well preheat the oven. You're going to take it to 375 Fahrenheit. Let that preheat. All right, let's start working with this bread. I'm just going to use my butcher block top on my little roll around the kitchen island here. And well floured. All right. Here we go. Let's get this dumped out. Now this is a nice sticky dough, not wet. Come on out. All right, still a little bit in there that I want to get out. Okay, that'll work. Nice and sticky. All right, here we go. So we're going to just lightly knead this. Now, basically you're just shaping it. And I'm going to use a Pyrex glass bread pan, loaf pan, I guess. I mean, you could use it for meatloaf, I guess, as well as bread. All right. And just a light kneading. There you go. There we are. All right. Nice and sticky. And, all right, that's good. Just get it into my rough shape. All right, I'm gonna clean off my hands, grab a scraper, and oil up my loaf pan, and we'll get this sucker on to the next step. Okay, I'm gonna oil up my loaf pan with an avocado spray oil. Now I like to use the avocado oil because it's flavorless and it has a high smoke point. All right, something like 500 degrees. So using an olive oil would be fine, but you will impart a little bit of that flavor into your loaf. So that's why I like to use the avocado oil for my baking. All right. Clean the oil off of my fingers. And let's get this into the loaf pan. All right. Nice and sticky. And once I've got it into the pan, I'm just going to lightly work it just to get it into the basic shape. Kind of pound out any air pockets that might be in there. All right. Here we are. Let that sit for a few minutes while my oven is preheating. All right, my oven is up to temperature, and I'm going to score the middle of this with a sharp knife. That will do the trick right there. And let's pop it into the oven. And we're going to put that on a middle rack. And let it sit for 45 minutes. Here we are. All right, it's been 45 minutes. Let's check this out. Oh my goodness. Oh, and that smells marvelous. Look at the rise that we got on that. All right, I'm going to test this by sticking a knife into it. See if it comes out clean. It does not. So, stick it back in there for a while longer. Oh, but it looks marvelous. Okay, let's try another, say, 10 minutes. All right, it's been an additional 10 minutes. Oh, where's my hot mitt? Okay, let's see what happens this time. Now I'm using a knife to stick in here. You can use a toothpick or whatever you've got handy. A little bit more. Let's give it another 10 minutes. It's cooking a little bit more slowly than I had imagined. Much more slowly than the recipe suggested. But I think another 10 minutes easily. All right, here we go. Let's try it again. All right, it's been another 10 minutes. Starting to get a nice golden crust on it. Oh, please come out clean, please. Yes, it's coming out clean. All right. Let's get it onto a cooling tray. Oh man, that looks marvelous. So I'm going to let this rest. And it's lunchtime here, so I'm going to make myself a sandwich, let this cool off a little bit, and then I'll get it out of the loaf pan and onto the rack. All right, it's been about an hour, and it just smells wonderful in here. Orange and cranberry is such a classic combination. So I'm ready to get this thing out of here. See about just kind of loosening it up enough that I can dump it out. Really making me work for it. It is definitely sticking to the bottom a little bit more than I would like. Well, let's try this. There we go, just sort of loosen it up a little bit at a time. I can see it getting looser, starting to wiggle around a little bit. All right, let's try it again here. Well, I think I'm going to lose my bottom a little bit. You know, maybe I should have just tried this on some parchment paper on a baking sheet. But here we go. All right. All right, I'm ready to give this a try. Come on, baby. Marvelous. Oh, that's so good. Well, I'm going to enjoy eating this loaf. I could see this toasted with some butter. Marvelous. The orange really comes through. And the cranberry little bites that you get. What a treat. Okay. Stop feeding my face. Highly recommend. 2 thumbs up. All right. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. You know, if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, leave me a comment. I always respond to my comments. I love hearing from my viewers. Hit that notification bell because I'm not regular about posting. So if you don't want to miss anything, please turn on your notification bell. Anyway, that's it. Next time, I got an idea for some cast iron chicken. All right, so until then, take a hike. Be blessed.